consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. We got Patrick Furlow in the house, Step by Stage Interiors. We're going to talk about home staging, the real estate market, and more coming up here in just a moment. Before we do, we always like to feature our real estate listings. 3573 Rain Tree Circle is one of our listings in Lakeland, Florida. This is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1760 square foot home. You have newer lighting fixtures, touch LG refrigerator, GE dishwasher, Samsung stove, and range. $45,000 in updates throughout the entire home at 3573 Rain Tree Circle in Lakeland, Florida. And we have a motivated seller here, so we'd love to talk to you about that property as well. 7532 Yachtsman Drive in Hudson is another waterfront property that we have listed. Bay access, enjoy that Florida boater's lifestyle on Yachtsman Drive in Hudson, Florida. 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1632 square feet. You are on the canal that feeds out into the Gulf of Mexico. You have a brand new kitchen with granite countertops, top of the line stainless steel appliances, and lots of cabinet space. You also have storm windows, hot tub, $8,000 glass double door entry. You also have a solar panel system as well. Lots of extras here at 7532 Yachtsman Drive in Hudson, Florida. And you can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. Check out PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
This is God's country.
All right, Patrick, welcome back in.
It's good to be here, Brandon. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Likewise. And we got to visit with your lovely wife last time, Annie. And, you know, I love the small business, the family businesses, the husband-wife businesses. You know, just you're getting a lot done, and you're working together, and you make it work, right?
You can relate.
There you go. You can relate. That's it. That's right.
Absolutely. It is. It's hard to segment your personal life from business. It all overlaps, like you and Lindsay know.
Yeah.
We do our best to make sure we shut it down at reasonable hours, set our boundaries, and
right.
We understand, unless it's a fire, something's going crazy, then obviously from the business perspective, we're always, willing to take those calls and respond to those emails late at night. But it is what it is. We have a busy life as we do now, and we're just trying to temper that expectation to focus on business and then focus on family.
Yeah, that's right. I love it, man. So give us a little overview. Step by Stage Interiors, home staging. What does all that mean?
So what that means is we focus on vacant home stagings. My wife and I started Step by Stage Interiors in 2011. Actually, she started in 2011. Before that, I was in educational and textile facility management services and leadership positions. She used to be an interior designer, so she brings a lot of that skill set to the home staging mindset. We are based in Lakeland, Florida. We service all of Central Florida, basically up and down the I-4 corridor. And what we do is we help people sell their houses faster and for the most money. We have a consistent track record of doing that. I always like to say there's 4 key pillars in the successful sale of any home in any market in real estate. It's price, condition, location, and staging. If those 4 things are done right, you will sell your house and you will sell it fast.
I like that because that's what everybody wants to do. They want to maximize the price. They want to maximize the profit. And that's where, our niche, of course, with the radio talk show, that's a big part of our business model, Keller Williams Realty, all the technology that we employ. But, yeah, I've been bringing it up, too, as well, to a lot of the folks. I've got a couple that are coming in that hopefully they'll end up, talking to you on it. But if you're, when I'm looking through expired listings, for example, I call on a lot of expired, canceled listings. A lot of these properties have been on the market for 173 days, 180 days, basically 6 months. And then when I look through the pictures, it's a common theme for some of them. And you know where I'm going with that. Vacant home, it's all, you walk in, it's like all tile, and it's not, sometimes older tile, etc. So you got to fancy that space up a bit, put some beautiful furniture in there.
That's right. Sometimes it just feels cold, it's sterile, if it's a vacant home. And, we stage new construction homes all the time, spec homes. We do, houses from, 1-1 condos to 8-figure multi-million-dollar estates. And none of them are the same. Sometimes a common misconception is staging is only for like the hard-to-figure-out homes or the ugly ones. But we stage everything, and we have successful results with all of it. And it's just it's fascinating to see the differentiation when you do it versus when you don't. And like you said, a lot of expired listings can be vacant, they can be lived in, but maybe the photography wasn't great, or they didn't have some type of like a consultative staging service to make sure their property was showcasing well before they listed it. So there's a lot of factors involved.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to get to this clip here because it's kind of an interesting clip because it's, it talks to the market. We like to analyze the market a little bit as an economist here for our audience. So this one's going into the affordability and the interest rate. So I'm going to play this clip. Patrick and I will talk about it.
Let's transition into the next topic.
Nice.
I thought transition was the right, appropriate word to use here.
Yeah.
Mortgage payments on new homes have risen 90% under Biden's presidency. 90% in 3 years. Average monthly mortgage payments on new homes have surged by 90% since the start, reaching $33.22 in the third quarter of this year, driven by interest rates exceeding 7% and rising housing prices. The Federal Reserve aggressive strategy to raise the rates has caused it to be where it's at right now. Tom, 90%. So if somebody was paying $1,600 a month, $1,700 a month, now they're paying $3,300 a month. How did the average? And then they say the economy is doing better, gas prices are doing better. All these.
Yeah, so it's funny because I was watching one of the mainstream news outlets this morning, and the news anchor, the person before going to break, he says, is the economy really that bad, or is it just Americans' perception of the economy that's that bad? We'll be right back, and we'll discuss. Like, come on, you're trying to. It's almost like they're saying, "Don't believe your lying eyes," right? Don't believe I know it costs you more money, but is it really that bad? I think for a while there it got pretty bad. It seems to be getting better as far as back to the real estate talk, as far as the the interest rates and the payments. And the Federal Reserve, of course, said that they're going to be dropping rates, reducing that overnight lending rate, which is not necessarily an equal swap for mortgage rates. But it seems like in the spring we could have a much better mortgage environment as well.
Yeah, and I was actually reading one of the articles that Redfin came out with a few weeks ago, and they had talked about what they saw in their expert opinion on interest rates over the 2024 timeframe, and they kind of thought it might go down 1% to 2% by the end of the year. Obviously, we're coming up in an election year, so whatever administration is involved in election years are always going to do their best to try to lower gas prices and try to lower interest rates, and work it out to make them look better from a visual nature. But there's a ton of factors involved. Debt's up. Credit card balances are higher.
Yep.
People's dollar doesn't go as far as it had. I mean, I know I didn't get myself a 90% raise year over year if my mortgage went up by 90%.
Exactly.
I struggle to give ourselves like a 10% raise every year in a small business owner. It's very tight and margins are thin, but there's a lot of things that are involved in home purchases, and I think a lot of things that we've seen personally from a lot of agents that we work with is people, when we stage properties, we're still getting offers pretty quickly, and a lot of those offers are falling through more often than not.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is, people's debt to equity ratio isn't what it was in the last 12 to 18 months.
Right.
And financing what you thought you could afford a year ago, you can't do that now. And I think it's causing a lot of contracts to fall through more than what we're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. I remember back when the shift started to happen too, we saw that like right off the bat, remember?
Yep.
Contracts falling out. But if you just joined us, folks, we're talking with Patrick Furlow, Step by Stage Interiors here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Home staging is their business. So if you have a vacant home or someone you know of is trying to sell a property and they're saying, hey, I'm not selling, I wonder why, you might want to talk to Patrick and his team, Step by Stage Interiors. And if you look at overall, Americans are spending more money for everything from, we just talked about mortgages, homes, gas, interest rates, of course, groceries, even fast food. We have a restaurant partner on the show. Doug calls in too from Hours Creole, and he talks about even the containers to put the food in when you're making to-go orders. Those went up significantly. You mentioned credit card debt, record numbers. And what's sad too, in a show that we did a couple days ago, homelessness, 653,000 Americans, another new record set just recently. So the most amount of homeless people in our country that we ever had on record. And
that's sad, and it doesn't need to be that way. We spend so much money on so many different programs, some worthwhile and some useless and complete waste of time in this country. And if we would have our priorities straight and take care of folks that really need to take care of, Americans, veterans, but people that are homeless through no fault of their own or they want to get better, we can do that, and we choose not to as a country, and it's kind of a shame. I think that, in my personal opinion, a lot of the administrative and, the policies that have been happening in the last 3 years have kind of led to this continuing to be spiraling out of control.
Yep.
And we've only, made it worse with, millions of folks coming in here going to be reliant and dependent on government programs.
Right.
For whatever reason, they're coming to this country. They want to try to seek asylum. They want to try to say they're having a better life or persecution, but we all notice for a better chance, and then they flood the gates, and we can't handle it, and all those folks are eventually going to come on the taxpayer's dollar, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it is. It really is all the money that's spent. We spent record numbers over these last 3 or 4 years, and you can't blame the folks coming across, because if we were in the same position and we weren't born in America, we would be doing it too. But it's the politicians' fault. They opened that floodgate. Unfortunately, our country can't handle it, and we're overwhelmed. And there's so many, especially the veterans. My heart goes out to those veterans that are in a position where they maybe have some PTSD or something along those lines. I want to give you the final minute or so. Tell me, Step by Stage Interiors, what else you're seeing out there, and how can people connect with you?
Well, I think one of the struggles that I'm seeing personally in the real estate market is there's a lot of houses, as we continue to have slightly more listings to choose from, and things are sitting a lot longer. A lot of houses are struggling to differentiate themselves from other houses in the market. So the competitive marketing advantage is lacking. When folks bring us on board and collaborate with Step by Stage, they get a competitive marketing advantage. They now have a property that's going to showcase the nicest in the neighborhood, or for other properties on the market that are the same price point in a 5 or 10 mile radius. What's going to drive those people online to look at that property, to fall in love with the space, necessitate that phone call to the listing agent, get more showings, get more offers, and get out from underneath carrying costs for a couple of months that you're paying on. Nobody wants to waste all that money on extra mortgages, extra landscape, extra lawn care, extra utilities. Forget about it.
Yep.
Like, if you stage it, you have a statistically better chance to sell faster and for more, get out from under it, and take your nest egg and move on.
A much better statistically as well. What's the stat on that, Patrick?
So with us, we track all of our stats by county, and we also track by price point, because there's national statistics. A lot of staging companies will say staging, house will sell for 1 to 17% more, and it's all good. And a lot of that's true. It's NAR. You can look it up. It's public information. With us, we like to track local stats. When we go on consultations, we're meeting with an agent or a seller. They'll well, what's my return on investment? Well, if you pay to stage, what's that look like? And we can tell them, in your county, your price point, we go under contract in this amount of time on average, and this is what we sell for. And when they hear that, they understand that we know what we're talking about. We do our numbers, and we provide that information so those sellers can make an informed decision if they want to choose to stage or not. Ultimately, it's up to them.
I love it. Patrick Furlow, Step by Stage Interiors, the website,
stepbystageinteriors.com, and we're on Facebook and Instagram at Step by Stage.
Step by Stage, and also on consumerqb.com. Patrick, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Brandon.
My pleasure. All right, we're taking a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk health with Cryogenics Rejuvenation and Recovery owner Shane Stanfield in the house here. Coming up, we're going to talk health and nutrition on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.